Hello, authors, book lovers, and storytellers. Welcome to another Reader's Magnet featured author interview. We are currently live in all of our streaming platforms YouTube, Facebook, and Twitter. My name is Kimmy, and I am your host for today. And together with me right now is one of the Reader's Magnet featured authors, here to talk more about his journey as an author and the inspiration behind his book. We have J. Marcelo Baqueroalvarez, author of the book Authoritarianism and Propaganda, the Puppet Master Tools. Hello, Marcelo. How are you today?
Hey, how are you, Kimmy? Thank you so much for having me here today. I'm very excited for this moment to share our message.
Okay, thank you so much as well for for being with us. It's truly an honor to have you here in our platform. All right. So, by the way, I would also like to ask you might get this question a lot. How did you actually get your nickname BZ?
So yeah, BeeZee. So actually, BeeZee is it became my official U.S. Navy nickname, and that actually started when I was a junior sailor on board the mighty USS Lake Erie. That's the same ship that actually shot a Russian missile back when, that very one. So back at the time, I was actually assigned in administration, and there was this big inspection from the engineering department, and they asked me to go to the wardroom, which is where all the officers are, and find the commanding officer. Say like, hey, that I was going to be at their admin person for that part. And I found the captain, and I went, "Good morning, Captain PNSM Vaquero Alvarez, reporting for duty as directed." And the captain, he smiled at me and said, "How do you say your name
Mm.
again?" Very sharply, go, "Vaquero Alvarez, sir," and say, "How about BZ?" And I didn't really understand at that point, but what BZ, the letters B and the Z in code, actually
Mhm.
means Bravo Zulu, which is a congratulatory thing. So it's like, good job, you know. So I really like that.
Oh.
And it became my nickname ever since for the last 20 years.
Wow, that's amazing. I didn't know that. BZ, that's Beezee. That's how you
Yes.
spell it, right?
Yeah, and it's a little bit easier than Vaquero Alvarez, you know. So it was from four letters, just to a lot shorter.
That's right. And I could anyone can actually remember you right away like BZ, right? So
Oh,
just
yeah.
like Jay-Z, kind of like did the singer. All
Oh,
right.
yeah.
So yeah, that's well done. It's very good. It's a, there's a meaning behind that.
Mhm.
Also would like to ask Marcelo, there are many examples of your writing in your website, which is www.halflifecrisis.com. Please tell us, what do you mean by half-life crisis?
Okay, thank you. So, Half Life Crisis, the first thing, it does not mean midlife crisis. But I created this rather as an understanding that sometimes we don't work for a living, but we're just living for working. And then all of a sudden our life is just passed behind. So, essentially, many times we see our lives move so fast, but then all the projects and all the dreams and aspirations that we have, they're left behind. So, I created Half Life Crisis, sorry, as a way for me to be able to showcase whatever is bouncing in my mind, and hopefully somebody's going to be able to have a conversation with me, even if it is through the screen.
Right. I like that. When you mentions about people nowadays are living to work, you know, instead of really living. And I
Yeah,
guess it's one thing also for people to also understand, like, you also have to enjoy life, at some point, right? And why do you create Half-Life Crisis?
so I had the idea of creating Half-Life Crisis since 2011. So this idea was tumbling in my mind actually for a long time, and really what I wanted to do is create a platform for myself where I would be able to speak without having to be censored in some way. It's not that I want to say anything bad necessarily, but I just want to not be constrained by certain biases. And one thing, like got to the other, it's like I had this project for many years. So it took until 2018 finally. So from 2011 to 2018 to move this idea, and I found out that there was still so much left to do. And when I started this site, I really wanted to create an article or it started with an article to showcase who I am and what is it all about. By that time, my daughter was also be born, and she started painting.
Wow.
So then we created a platform where I can actually showcase her work without her being exploited by somebody else. So it just kind of became our thing, and somehow we got some traction, and we really appreciate that.
That's a very amazing, experience or behind why you create the Half-Life Crisis. You have been getting a lot of compliments on the way you express yourself. Can you tell us more about your writing style?
Thank you so much. So, uh, my writing style is what you would call is down to earth. So, uh, I didn't want to be like everybody else, and especially now that there's IA writers like artificial intelligence writers that they just put stuff together. I really wanted to be
Right.
very organic and very true to who I am, especially all these things that's tumbling through my mind. I wanted to give a way to put that in a tangible way. And kind of
Mm-hmm.
like sometimes, when we have all these ideas and all these projects and all these things that are just seem to be taking space in our head, I wanted to see it and be able to read it to see if it actually makes sense. And to tell you the truth is I like to say certain, I like to cover certain topics in exuberant detail. So I could be going as far or as long as I want. A lot of my articles are pretty long for that, and just in the sense, like if that would be a very long conversation with a friend, if you had one of those conversations, that's why I wanted to join. That's how life crisis came to be in my writing style. So I also don't like to preach to people, so I'm not telling people how to live their life, but I am very unapologetic about what I'm going to be saying, and that's another reason why I created Half-Life Crisis, so I can actually express myself in a way that it was not constrained by somebody else's metrics, but hopefully it was going to resonate with people out there, and fortunately it has been. Apparently we have readers 78, 80 countries now, so it's awesome.
Wow. I really like when you mentions about being organic or being authentic. You write things by your heart or from your heart, I mean. And when you don't really, you're not constrained with any other people's judgment or other people's ideas, and you're not preaching. It's just, expressing what your ideas are, what the things that you think would actually help out, but not really like letting people, follow you and all that. I like that. So how did you decide to become a writer? I'm just curious.
Yeah, so my job in the Navy actually requires for me to read a lot, and by a lot, it's an insane amount. It's how much I had to be doing. But I actually enjoy writing, even since I was a child. A lot of times, whenever I needed to get some ideas from my mind, I would just like put it. So there's probably lost manuscripts and articles and essays and goodness knows what else. And they're spanning decades, just stashed here and there and everywhere. So hopefully I find it
Hmm.
at some point. But one of the reasons why I do enjoy writing is because once you actually put stuff that is in your mind in some sort of tangible form, then it can transcend your lives. Then it doesn't
Yeah.
matter if you write it here or even if it resonates with people at that moment, they can actually understand what was your message even years from now. And also, I really like to talk, and I have a lot to say. So when I start having my conversations and typing away in my computer, it's a very therapeutical thing for me.
Yeah. Nice. I like that. I also same with you. I also love to write, and also, when you mentioned about manuscripts and all those things that you just trash out and realize, it's this one that you've done that you're doing right now, writing is, it's a legacy that you can all share to the people, for them to also learn something from your work. And you mentioned earlier that you are with the U.S. Navy. Thank you so much for your military service. How long have you been with or been in the U.S. Navy?
Thank you so much. Yeah, so I have been a United States Navy sailor, and that has been one of the greatest honor. I just celebrated my 20th year anniversary just in October,
Mhm.
so it's
Wow.
been going back.
Nice. Wow. So when are you retiring from the U.S. Navy?
So my last day in uniform will be the 30th of April, and that is a promise I made to my daughter. So I told her that whatever 20 years catches me, that's where I will retire. And that time has arrived. So I am keeping
Wow.
promise to my child.
That is amazing. At least you have served the country, and now it's time for you as well to give time to your daughter and all. And it's a good plan. I actually can feel you. Same with my dad, because he's
Mhm.
also with military before he was single, and then when he got married with my mom, he decided to stop. So just also to focus on family. So for anybody, Marcelo, who might not be familiar with your book, Authoritarianism and Propaganda, the Puppet Master Tools. What is the premise for the book?
Thank you. So this is a non-fiction book, and by non-fiction means that it's incredibly real. Everything that I'm writing about
Yes.
is happening. So authoritarianism and propaganda are on the rise on the world, and this is nothing new. But probably for people who have been paying attention lately to the political discourse or to national discourse, or even
Mhm.
listening international in the news, there is a lot of traction that is going on that. So but the problem is that also there's a lot of propagandistic narratives that have become normalized around the world. So what I wanted to do is create a guide for us to identify what is being happening, and if people are getting seduced by this type of situation. Because what happens when people become trained in propagandist narratives, the authoritarians get to galvanize their power. So the book describes how the situation occurs, and I also cite examples of authoritarians in history and how they raise,
Mhm.
and that way we can actually see that this situation had happened, and people, especially when they were complacent, they didn't see it coming until it was too late.
Right. True. True. And you know what? Your title is very catchy. Authoritarianism and Propaganda: The Puppet Master Tools. How did you choose the title?
So thank you. So the title was actually very spontaneous, and as
Mm.
doing all my research and everything else, I like, whoa, there's all this propaganda and these authoritarians, who's actually running all that, and it's the puppet masters. So, and a lot of times the puppet masters are people who are not necessarily the authoritarian or the propagandist itself, but there's different entities that have them under their control. So I wanted my book title to summarize what it is all about, and especially I wanted to spark my readers' curiosity to incite the questions, even if they thought it was fiction, and then see like, oh, this is actually very real. Um, and also try to think, who's the puppet master? Is it the authoritarians? Is himself, herself? Who is calling the shows? It is the authoritarian, the propagandist. Who is actually doing that? And for them to see that there's always more to the story. And when it gets normalized, this reality,
Right.
we tend to take for granted that reality that is presented onto us.
True. I like that. The reality that's presented, and people get to also think if they would, be part of the authoritarian part, propaganda and
Mhm.
all that. So there's actually a lot that they can learn. I really love to also read your book, probably after our interview, because it's very for me it's very refreshing on my side, because I think I've shared with you I've been into fiction, and this one is a
Oh yeah.
nonfiction, and it really gives reality and all that. So it's something that I can look forward to. You've also mentioned earlier, Marcelo, that for the past years, there were manuscripts that you've done. There was those even things that you've written, just put somewhere in the corner. So why did you choose, amongst all of the things or all those that you've written, why did you choose to launch this manuscript as your debut book?
Thank you. So yes, this is actually the third manuscript that I wrote while we
Mm.
deployed on board the USS Cole. That is the same ship that got attacked in October 2000 by violent extremists in Yemen. So,
Oh.
and that's probably why it kept me very hyper aware to the realities of the world in this historic ship. So, the topic is emergent, and when I was writing this book, I knew that it needed to come out as soon as possible. So my other books that are coming out, they complement this topic, but after much consideration, I figured that that was the best way to continue this message, because it's a complex message what I'm actually trying to transmit, but it has to
Mm-hmm.
start somewhere. Even though each one of my books would be a standalone, this
Mm-hmm.
gives a better context. So that's why I chose to release this book first as soon as I could.
Oh, I see. And the ebook release is on November 13, 2023, or actually happened to November 13, right? So tell us more
Yeah.
about why do you choose that date?
Yeah, thank you. So, yeah, the ebook is actually been out for a little while now,
Yes.
November
Yeah.
13th. And the reason for that date, well, first is because my daughter's birthday. So since all the rights for
Mm.
books and everything that I do goes to her, so I wanted this to be essentially kind of like a memorable date, kind of like happy birthday present for her, and something that
Wow.
we going up there. Um, Also, it's because I was going to be interviewed by Jim Masters from Close Up Radio on the 15th of November. So a huge shout out to their team also, because they essentially discovered Half Life Crisis even before the book was
Wow.
coming out, and this interview was going to be posted in the site. And
Mm-hmm.
sending the book by that time, then it made a lot more sense, because then if anybody would be curious about the book, then it would be available for them right away in all these outlets around the world. Mhm.
Right. Nice.
Mhm.
We're actually talking dates right now. So why did you choose December 28th, 2023 as the paperback release date?
Yeah, December 28th is a very symbolic day in my culture. Was It's around the world, particular, but as a Hispanic person, this is a
Mm-hmm.
day as the Santos Inocentes, this innocent saints, which is actually
Wow.
based on the story of King Herod the Great, when he was ordering to kill the 2-year-old and
Yeah.
babies around, because he felt vulnerable that the Messiah was going to threaten his power. So
Yes.
nowadays, the Santos Inocentes is actually kind of like a day, to play silly, fun to each other. It's almost like kind of like an April's Fool type thing over there. But
Mhm.
to me, it also spoke a lot more, because it talks a little bit about the book and how some authoritarians, they would galvanize people and followers to commit atrocities, and that sometimes we don't even remember the origins for those atrocities.
Right.
So that's why I chose that, and which is actually interesting, because I somehow keep tripping falling into a lot of symbolistic days. Like today, for example, December 6th is also the 489th founding anniversary of the city where I was born, which is the city of Quito, Ecuador. So big hello to all
Wow.
people in Quito,
Hello
Ecuador.
there.
Love you all. That's we would be enjoying today like a lot of parties. That would be okay.
Nice.
Yep. And also today, I will talk a little bit more about that. But my second birthday
Yes.
ebook, so, and that's another reason why I chose to uh, December the 6th for that. So yeah, always something with those dates.
Wow.
Hmm.
You know I think you really are very good in terms of, relating dates with the history or any events and all that in your life or in the world, and um kind of like connect them, right? So you also mentioned, Marcelo, that the book is meant to be short reading. Why is that?
So the reason why I wanted to make the shorts to be comparable short reading is because the topic is emergent. Things are
Mm-hmm.
happening really fast, and the books are not meant to be read once. These books,
Mm, yes.
they are meant to be reading a couple of times. There's like literally hundreds of Easter eggs in each one of these books, and the more that you read it, the more that you're going to be discovering. And as you
Right.
continue to look at the chapters, and some of the things are meant to really challenge a person to say, like, is that real? Is that not real? So it sparks that
Mm-hmm.
curiosity, so they can go back and look at that. Was that real or is that not real? And then when they see that it's real, they're going to have a different outlook than some of the potential biases that we might have. And we all have biases, and that's why it's actually written that way. It's much like in a bicycle wheel that you have spokes looking at every side, but they come together. Same thing.
True.
It's going to be looking at the introspection, and the more that you see it, the more that you read. But again, as I say, and I'm repeating for a reason, it's because it's meant to
Right.
be more than one time. Even years from now, you're probably going to see something that it was hidden in those pages.
True. I
Mhm.
totally agree with you. I totally agree because I'm also a book lover, so I've been collecting books and all. So the one time you read the book is really not like enough. You have to like reread and then understand, okay, this is what the writer means. And then you realize you mentions about, another perspective and all. You realize, okay, on my third reading I have to realize, okay, this is what the writer is trying to say. So
Yes.
then that's actually correct, and we can definitely relate to what you've mentioned.
Yes.
You've also always emphasized on your um earlier you've mentioned about spreading your message. Can you please tell us more? What is the book's message?
Yes. Thank you. So the message is history repeats itself. And there's no shortage of authoritarians and propagandists out there right now. Some of them are hidden in plain sight, and it has been normalized. And a lot of the decisions that a lot of people are making, it would seem counterintuitive for them to make the right decision because they're not being given the complete data points, and that is
Mm,
designed to be that way. So if people actually feel that way, oh, okay, I've been tricked, I've been bamboozled, well, it's designed to be that way, so that way they don't feel bad about themselves. And the other thing is because authoritarians, they have a tendency to be surrounded by yes men and yes women, and the reason why they do that is because they are very insecure about themselves. And that's why I'm also not
mm,
talking about any current authoritarians right now, because I don't feel like getting shot in the face because they don't take kindly to criticism. But whenever a person gets to understand their introspection, get to see that we do have biases that could be exploited, we get to understand what is the truth, what is not true, what might be manipulation, then they start taking that control away from those propagandists, taking that control away from those authoritarians before they actually get to galvanize that power. So that is the message of the book, is really to get that introspection so we can prevent an authoritarian from gaining power.
amazing. That's very nice. And you also bring awareness to the fact that, the world is going unhinged. And it seemed that only a relatively small group of people seem to realize it.
Yes, and you know that unfortunately is a big paradox because most people they live in what some people would call willful ignorance. The more information that
Mm,
exists, the more certain facts have been taken the same level as opinions that are unfounded opinions. So what we want to know is to let people understand that propaganda is designed to be subtle enough so people can fall victims of propaganda without realizing it. Again, it's designed to be that way. So further, keeping people entertained and just not paying attention gives an authoritarian and propagandist a phenomenal advantage because while they are doing all the things that are affecting our lives, then we don't actually realize what we could be doing to prevent that from happening. And that has been going on through history. And that's why I cite the specific examples in my book about how that has been going on. It's not a political issue, not a left or right, but it is a people issue. And it's been going on from the beginning of time. And it's happening right now as well.
wow. So I like when you mentions about it's not about political issue, it's personal issue.
Yes.
And it's people issue. So pretty much more of like before we talk about politics, before we talk about the government and all that, we also have to make sure that whatever we are, the things that we've shared to the society could probably could definitely give it a big impact, that whatever small things that you've done. And I really am very excited actually to to read your book. And for the last part of our interview, Marcelo, can you show your book to people who are watching right now, and can you invite them to get a grab a copy for that? Go
Yes.
ahead.
Please help me spread this message to these authoritarians and propaganda, the puppet master tools. And it's available pretty much everywhere where they sell books around the world. They'll print it on demand
Mhm.
whenever it's available, and the ebook is immediately available. And this is
Okay.
Walking Proud, The Charlatan's Inconvenience. And again, it's available all over the world. Anybody who needs a copy right now, they would like to talk about that, I talk extensively about this. And again, hundreds of Easter eggs in these little books for every budget, for every person that needs to enjoy them, so they can get them right
Yes.
if they want. Yes, available every.
Marcelo, thank you so much for your time. We truly appreciate it, and I've learned a lot. Everyone who's actually watching right now also learned something from you. And what's good is that you shared about your ideas as an author, the things that you also wanted to, let the people know that you're U.S. Navy, yet your craft doesn't actually, being part of, serving the country doesn't just stop you of also doing the one thing that you really love, which is writing.
Yeah,
And I love that you shared your ideas to for people to learn and to understand things on your perspective, and so that would also be able to help them. Thank you. And everyone who's watching right now live, uh uh everyone, this is J Marcelo Baqueroalvarez, BZ. author of the book Authoritarianism and Propaganda, The Puppet Master. You may grab a copy of his book on his website. That's www.halflifecrisis.com, Amazon, Barnes& and Nobles, and all other app, right, Marcelo mentioned, all around the world. Again, thank you so much for your time, Marcelo. And as we say here at Reader's Magnet, we share your story with the world. Thanks, everyone. Thanks, Marcelo. Have a good
Thank
one.
you.